Overcoming common barriers for beginners. There are 4 common barriers for beginners. Steep learning curve. Obsidian has many powerful features, but new users may find it overwhelming to learn and navigate. Time investment. Building a comprehensive knowledge base takes time, which can be a deterrent for busy individuals. Technical know-how. While Obsidian doesn't require coding skills, users still need to be comfortable with technology and understand concepts like Markdown. Lack of structure. The open-ended nature of Obsidian can make it challenging for some users to establish an effective organizational system. How to overcome the steep learning curve. Start simple. Focus on the core functionalities first, creating notes, linking them, and basic formatting. Explore more advanced features as you get comfortable. Utilize resources. There are a ton of resources available. Look for beginner guides, video tutorials, and community forums specifically geared towards new Obsidian users. Focus on the why. Remind yourself of the benefits of using Obsidian: improved organization, better knowledge retention, and a central hub for your ideas. This motivation can help you persevere through the initial learning curve. How to overcome time investment. Start small. Don't try to build a comprehensive system overnight. Begin by incorporating Obsidian into your existing workflow. For example, by taking notes during meetings or jotting down ideas throughout the day. Focus on consistency. Aim for small, consistent efforts. Daily or weekly note-taking sessions, even for short periods. This will gradually build your knowledge base. Leverage templates. Utilize pre-made templates such as meeting notes, project outlines, or daily journals. This saves time and provides a starting point for organization. How to overcome technical know-how. Learn as you go. Don't be afraid to experiment. Obsidian has a gentle learning curve for Markdown syntax. Start with basic formatting like bold and italics, and gradually explore more as you need. Community support. Don't hesitate to ask for help. The Obsidian community is incredibly active and supportive. Utilize forums, Discord channels, Reddit, and YouTube. Focus on the basics. You don't need to be a master with every technical feature to benefit from Obsidian. Start with the core functionalities that align with your needs. How to overcome lack of structure. Start with templates. As mentioned earlier, a pre-made template provides a solid foundation for your organization. You can customize them further as your system evolves. Explore community vaults. Many Obsidian users share their pre-configured vaults with community resources. Explore these to get inspiration to see how others structure their knowledge base. Find your system. The beauty of Obsidian is its flexibility. Experiment with different organizational methods, tags, folders, backlinks, and find the approach that works best for you. Why choose Obsidian? Well, Obsidian is fast, reliable, and it's a secure note-taking app that goes beyond traditional note-taking apps. It's free to use and available on Windows, Mac, and Linux. It puts you in control of your knowledge, your own files directly. Obsidian is a folder on your computer and it travels with you. Focus on what matters. Notes are built on Markdown, a user-friendly and universally supported format. This ensures your information remains accessible, even if you switch platforms. Obsidian is more than just storage. It boosts your memory by connecting your notes and ideas in a non-linear way. Visually explore information without limitations, letting your imagination soar. It's highly customizable. Obsidian adapts to your workflow, not the other way around. Transform from being a passive information consumer to an active learner with Obsidian. This powerful note-taking system helps you capture, organize, distill, and express your ideas. By turning knowledge into action and fueling your personal development, you will transform yourself into a lifelong learner. In order to effectively achieve our goals, it's essential to implement a structured system for capturing notes. By adhering to a systematic approach, we can streamline our efforts and increase the likelihood of success. Embracing this system ensures clarity, consistency, and efficiency in our note-taking process, ultimately driving us closer to our desired outcomes. Follow a system for capturing your notes. A second brain helps with informational overload. Obsidian can be your second brain, a powerful personal knowledge management system that frees your mind. Offload your ideas and thoughts into Obsidian. This will reduce stress and mental clutter. Remember, your brain is for generating ideas, not storing them. Who should use Obsidian? If you're experiencing a lot of stress and anxiety and need to offload your thoughts, if you feel like your brain is full of too much information or ideas, if you like to actively consume information and enjoy learning, if you like to read, research, or write notes, if you want to link your thinking, build connections, and discover patterns, if you keep forgetting things and need a place to store what you've learnt. How much does Obsidian cost? Well, Obsidian is 100% free to use. If you'd like to use it for commercial purposes, there is a small annual fee. They include 2 paid services, Obsidian Sync and Obsidian Publish. Obsidian Sync allows you to sync your notes between your devices, and this is the easiest method for using multiple devices. Obsidian Publish allows you to easily publish your notes to the internet. A lot like a website, you will get your own domain name and be able to effortlessly publish your notes. This is good for knowledge-based websites or sharing information with a small community. Choosing the ideal location for your Obsidian files. If your goal is for privacy, then store your vault on your local hard drive disk only. If your goal is to have your notes available to you across multiple devices for free, then Google Drive or OneDrive is a good choice. However, be mindful that these services have some problems and concerns. Personally, I synchronize my Obsidian files for free with Google Drive. So far, I haven't encountered any significant problems when syncing between my PC and laptop. However, I've noticed a couple of issues where plugins don't always sync properly, and occasionally when I delete a plugin, it doesn't completely remove it from my Google Drive. Additionally, there are occasional inaccuracies in note tracking within my data views. Despite these glitches, my notes generally sync without any major data loss. This setup works well for me at the moment, but I may consider switching to Obsidian Sync once it fits within my budget. Download and install Obsidian. First step is going to be to download and install Obsidian. Open up your preferred web browser, navigate to obsidian.md/download, select your platform from below. For the purpose of this tutorial, we will be installing on Windows. So we're going to hit the download for Windows, save it to your downloads. Shouldn't take too long to download. Double click to launch the application installer. A few seconds later, Obsidian will install. Then you'll be presented with this window here. So you can see here it says your version is 1.6.3. We've got an option to hit Quick Start, or we can create a new vault, open an existing vault, or sign in to Obsidian Sync. If we click on Quick Start, we can see it quickly goes in and opens Obsidian. If we maximize, we can see it's called it Obsidian Vault, and it's stored it in our Documents folder. So Obsidian is just files and folders on our computer. So if we have a look in there, we now have Obsidian Vault with a .obsidian folder, and then there's some JSON files of all our configuration. We'll close Obsidian now. We'll remove the Quick Start Vault that we created. Now we're ready to set up your starter vault. Start by opening Obsidian and selecting Create. Give your vault a name. We'll call this one Obsidian Starter Vault. So it's going to ask us to choose a location to place our new vault. If we're syncing with OneDrive or Google Drive, you can place that in your OneDrive or Google Drive. I'm just going to place it in the same location under this PC Documents, and then I'm going to hit Create. I'm going to hit the Maximize to maximize. You can see here I've got a welcome note and a local graph view. So because there's only one note in my vault, I've only got one node here to click and drag in my graph view. I do have a link here, which is this link here, and it won't be in its own note until I hit the middle mouse button. Now it creates a note called Create a Link. So now I have welcome, create a link, and I can link back to welcome within Create a Link by hitting 2 square brackets, then selecting welcome. See here we have our view. So currently we are in the editing view. We can go into source mode by selecting source mode. We can go back to reading view, or we can go back to our editing view. At any time we can toggle off source mode and just stay in editing view. We can hit the middle mouse button to open welcome in a new tab, or we can close it and that'll take us back. If we just left mouse click, that will take us to the welcome note. And if we go back to left click the create a link, it will take us back to the link. The graph view will show the two files now. When you start with a new vault, I recommend starting with a blank canvas. Remember that Obsidian is just files and folders on your computer. Obsidian stores your files as .md files, which stands for Markdown. And this is a universally accepted format. This makes your vault future-proof if you decide to move away from Obsidian. So if we delete welcome, that's going to delete it from the vault as well. We can also right-click, select delete, and then it's going to ask us if we're sure that we want to delete a link. We'll just say yes, or we'll just hit the delete button. Now we'll go ahead and create some new folders within our starter vault. So there's two ways we can create folders. The first way is by going up to the new folder in the left-hand pane. And we left-click and we type the name of our new folder. The second way we can create folders is we can jump into our File Explorer and we can go File, New Folder, and we can create our second folder. And you can see that updates on the fly. So we'll just keep building our folder structure here. We'll go through what each of these folders does shortly. Now we have our 6 parent folders created. We can go ahead and create our subfolders inside each of these folders. We'll start off by creating our subfolders for cards. So cards is a piece of knowledge. So we're going to put our ideas, concepts, people, quotes, tools. Next, we're going to create our folders inside spaces. Spaces are a place for you to work on things that you're interested in. A few ideas for your spaces could be your distilled notes, Excalibur drawings, music, canvas mind maps, learning, wikis. Next, we're going to look at vaults. Vaults are places where you store all your captured information from external sources. These could be articles, books, courses, movies, music, papers, TV shows, Twitter feeds, videos, YouTube videos. Next, we'll build some subfolders for our journal entries. We'll need a folder for our daily journals, weekly journals, monthly reviews, thoughts, yearly reviews. Last folder is going to be our toolkit. Toolkit is a good space to store your images, attachments, PDFs, scripts, snippets, and templates. Now we have all our basic folders set up. We can collapse all our folders back to our 6 parent folders. We're going to jump into the Obsidian settings menu by clicking the cogwheel. This will take us to the general options. We can see our current version of Obsidian is version 1.6.3. Yours may be different if you're watching this in a future date. We can check for updates by hitting the check for updates button. By default, Obsidian will automatically update with any future releases. And when there is a future release, they will display a release log when you first launch the new version of your updated app. And select your default language. If you need help at any time, you can come into the help section here. You can also get to the help section by clicking the little question mark down in the bottom left pane. If you've signed up for Obsidian Sync or Publish, you can log in and sign up here. And if you're using this for commercial purposes, you can activate or purchase your license through this section. The next option are the editor. So the default view for new tabs is the editing view. You can make it the reading view, but you won't be able to make any changes to the reading view. So I like to leave it on the editing view. The default editing mode is live preview. I think this looks nicer, although you can change it to source mode if you like working in pure Markdown. Properties will show by default in every document. You can hide it if it gets in the way or distracts you from entering notes, or you can put it in source mode. I like to leave mine visible. Fold headings will just collapse any headings with a body of text. I like to leave fold indent on. Show line number I keep off. If you want to read right to left, you can toggle that on here. Spell check is enabled by default, and you can select your language for spell checking in the drop down. Leave auto pair brackets on, same for markdown syntax. Everything else can stay the same. Jumping over to files and links, we want to confirm file deletions just in case we delete anything by mistake. When we delete a file, it's going to move it to the system trash. We can move it to the Obsidian trash, or we can permanently delete it. I like to leave this as default. I like to turn on automatic update internal links. The default location for new notes will be our note lab. So we'll change this to in the folder specified below, and then we'll just select our note lab. This could be anything you would like to set up. I just like to have a catch-all folder for my notes. Leave these two as they are. The default location for new attachments is going to be in our toolkit. Hit the /. We're going to put them in images. This is the default location for images and audio recordings. You will tend to drag more images in than audio, so that's why I've labeled it images. If you want to call it something else, you can change it to something else. If you want to exclude files, you can set that up here. We're not going to do that. And if you want to override anything, you can put that here, which we're not going to do. Jump to the appearance now. By default, you get the Obsidian default theme installed with the Obsidian purple color. I think it looks okay. For beginners, it's fine. If you would like to explore some more community themes, you can do so by hitting manage, searching for a theme which you may like. The more people that have downloaded the theme, the more popular and supported the theme will be. The most popular Obsidian theme is Minimal. This is the one I use. It'll automatically change over to that new theme. And if you want to toggle back to the default theme, you can do so by selecting it. You can also check for updates by hitting the check for updates button, and you'll see up here there's no theme updates found. You can customize your font within any themes here. Leave all the interface as default. If you want to hide the ribbon over to the left, you can turn it off here. If you don't want to show the tab bar, you can turn it off. Same with show inline title, but I like to leave all of those on. You can customize your ribbon to the left here by hitting manage, and you can see which icon are currently listed here. And if you wanted to remove one or shift one up and down, you can do that within this section here. We'll just leave that as it is for now. You can change the overall zoom level of the app if you have difficulty reading the text and you want to turn it up a little bit. You can change the native menus to match your operating system. I like to leave this off. Usually leave hardware acceleration on because it makes the experience faster and smoother. If you have any custom CSS styles, you can store them in the CSS snippets folder, which is located in your vault.obsidian snippets folder. We're not going to use that for now, so we'll just jump into the hotkeys. So by default, Obsidian will have some default hotkeys already set up, and you can see them here for some of the commands within Obsidian. Close current tab is Control+W, close window Control-Shift-W, open the command palette Control+P. If you wanted to add a customized hotkey, you can do so by hitting the plus icon and then entering the hotkey you would like to use. If it's already been taken, it will show you that it's already been taken. This will come in handy later as you get more confident with Obsidian. The next tab is core plugins. By default, you have a lot of core plugins already enabled. If we go down the list, we'll have a look, enable the ones that I think should be enabled that aren't enabled. Properties view, show the metadata for your new files in the sidebar. So if you'd like to see your properties at the top here, that's what this one does. So I'll turn that on. but you can leave it off if you would like. To use Obsidian Publish, you'll need to enable it. Because we're not using it, we'll leave it off. Open a random note to rediscover or review. When your vault starts to grow, this is a good one to have to flush out any notes that you haven't recalled or reflected on recently. So I like to turn that on. And you'll see it puts a little icon on the ribbon over to the left-hand side. /commands. Trigger commands in the editor by using the / key. This is really handy to have, and I recommend turning that on. You can create slides by entering 3 little dashes within your markdown. And this one's really handy when you want to learn anything that you've written in notes, so I like to turn that on. If you're using Obsidian Sync, turn that on here. And the last one is workspaces. We'll go through that in a later video. We'll just enable that one. Now we have all our core plugins enabled that we'd like to use. And you'll see some of them have this little options icon next to them. So this options icon is linking down to this section here. So we're going to click on backlinks. By default, backlinks are turned off to show in new tabs. That's the way I like it. You can change it and toggle it on if you like. All a backlink is a link within a file to another file that is linked within that markdown file. We'll jump down to Canvas. The default location for new Canvas files is your Vault folder, so it'll just drop any new Canvas files here. I would like to specify a folder for my Canvas files, so I'm going to put that in my spaces, and I'm going to put it in my Canvas mind maps. I'm going to leave the default mouse wheel behavior, the control drag behavior, just going to change the display card label to on hover. I don't want it to always show my card labels within my canvas. I'll leave snap to grid on and snap to objects, and I'll turn the zoom threshold for hiding card content up because I like to see all the content on my canvas. You can almost turn that right up to as far as it can go. The next core plugin is Command Palette. When you create a new file and you want to open the command palette, you do so by hitting Control P, and it gives you a whole bunch of commands to run. So what the Command Palette Core plugin does is it allows you to pin commands that you regularly use to the top of that command palette. So if we go create new note, and then we'll look for something else that we would use quite often, like split view, split right. We could also do rename file, which is quite common. If you wanted to, you could even put close current tab. You could change from light mode to dark mode, show the release notes. That might be a handy one to have. So once you've put your pin commands, you can remove them by clicking the X, and you can shift them up and down if you like. And so you can see we've got 5 there now. So if I hit the / command, because we turn that core plugin on, now we have those 5 pin commands here that we can use. So that's quite handy when you want to use a command quite often. And when we go through templates, we'll also add templates in there as well, which will be insert template. And that's going to be something that we would use quite often. Now, if we hit the / command, we can see insert template is there. That's a handy one to have. Daily notes is for our journal entries. You can keep the time format as is there, where it's got the year, then the month, then the day. And then you can see the syntax over here. Or you can customize it to your liking, day, month, year. And then every time you create a daily note, it's going to appear like this. You can choose a new file location. So because it's a journal entry, you can place it in your daily journals. And if you had a daily note template, which we will cover later in the video, you can pop that one in here. You can open it on startup, although I don't like to do that. Then you've got the File Recovery Core plugin, and this is where it stores your snapshots and backups of any notes that you're working on. By default, there is a 5 snapshot interval. Got your history length, which is in days for these to be kept for, and you can clear this to save space as well. I don't tend to use this very often, but it's a nice feature to have if you do need to recover a file. Note composure is another one that I don't tend to use, and this is when you want to merge 2 notes together. So we can kind of skip that for now, go down to page preview. So when you hold control and hover over a link, it gives you a view of that note without having to open the note. So all of them are in by default except for the reading view. The quick switcher will show attachment files like images, videos, and PDFs, so keep that toggled on. Under templates, you can specify a location for your templates. Remember in the toolkit, we created a folder for templates. So we're going to select that one and we'll drop some templates in there later in the video. Keep our date format the same as our daily notes. And you can even put your time format in there if you like. We'll just leave that for now. So this is the basics of the Obsidian settings menu. What are community plugins? In a nutshell, community plugins are built by the Obsidian community to extend the functionality of Obsidian. This allows you unlimited range of customizations within your second brain. This does come with a catch though. Community plugins run third-party code on your behalf that could potentially do harm to your computer. To learn more about what the Obsidian team does to prevent harmful plugins, please refer to the plugin security page. How can I find community plugins? Open Settings, left-click Community Plugins. You'll be presented with this screen that will remind you that community plugins could potentially cause data integrity and security issues. And here's what they do to ensure safe practices. They have an initial code review, so plugins undergo code review by their team before they appear in the store. They're open source on GitHub, so you can inspect the code yourself. They do have a large community of developers who watch out for each other, and there's also a report mechanism that they follow to remove faulty plugins upon users' requests. We need to exit restricted mode to enable community plugins. To do so, we just click the turn on community plugins. Now we're going to be given the option to browse community plugins. So we'll hit the browse and then we're presented to the community plugins page. It'll load the most popular plugins up the top all the way down, and it's an infinite scroll, so we can see that there's 1,766 plugins to extend the functionality of Obsidian. So you can check out my video 20 must-have plugins for Obsidian. For the purpose of this section of the guide, I'll just go ahead and install a few plugins. First one will be minimal theme settings. This one works with the minimal theme and it allows us to customize the theme from the Obsidian setting panel. It's not required to use the minimal theme, but highly recommended. So we'll hit install. You can see up the top here it gives us a little status, and now it's successfully installed. We hit enable and now our first community plugin is enabled. I'm going to go grab style settings, and this one works with the minimal theme as well, and we can configure our CSS within the theme. We'll go ahead and install this one and we hit enable. So now we have two community plugins installed. They're going to show down the bottom here. So we can see here we have the minimal theme settings. So we're still on the default Obsidian theme. So if we change to minimal, now we're on the minimal theme, and we can come down to our minimal theme settings, and then we can choose different themes from the dark mode color scheme. You can also do from the light mode as well. And there's just a whole heap of there's a whole heap of themes here that you can quickly just cycle through to see if you like the colors and the look of this theme. So you get the idea there. I'll just leave it on Atom for now. We can go down to our style settings and we can see we can set a whole bunch of CSS within our minimal theme. So if we want to change how headings look, if we want to change the H1 font or the color of our headings, we can do so in here. And if we're not happy once we've made our changes, we can always restore the default by hitting the little refresh button here. So these are two great community plugins to use with the most popular theme for Obsidian, which is minimal. I'm just going to quickly change over to Dracula. This one brings back the Obsidian purple. It still keeps the dark mode. Then we'll install the remaining plugins for the starter kit. Once we have all our community plugins installed, they're going to show up on the left-hand side here. We can go in and set each community plugin's settings within each of these sections. If we want to uninstall a community plugin, we can hit the little uninstall icon here. And if we want to disable a plugin, we can turn it off and it will switch it off on the left-hand menu as well. Community plugins are stored in the .obsidian folder under a folder called plugins. If you do have any syncing issues with OneDrive or Google Drive and you need to manually delete a plugin, you can just right-click and hit the delete button here and it will remove it when you reload Obsidian. So we're not going to go into too much depth about what each community plugin does. The purpose of this section was to visually demonstrate how to install community plugins into your Obsidian Vault. We'll now do a quick interface tour. Over to the left-hand side here, we have all our ribbon shortcuts. We have our quick switcher, which will find or create a note. We have our open graph view, which will show us our graph view. We only have one note at the moment. We have our create a new canvas, which will take us into Obsidian Canvas, and we can click and drag and control and scroll in and out. And we'll go through this in more detail later in the video. We can open today's daily note, and that's going to create a daily note. And if we open up the Note lab, we can see we've got our new note. We can see that our daily note is not in the Note lab because we've told it to go in the daily journals. The next one is insert template. We don't have any templates in our templates folder, so we can't insert a template here yet. I'm just going to open the toolkit. I'm going to right click the templates folder and I'm going to create a new note. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the three dots and go into source mode. And then I'm just going to paste a daily note template from my Obsidian Vault. I'm going to call this one daily note template. And you can see it looks a little bit ugly in source view. So to toggle back to editing view, we can Control E. Now it goes back to editing view. You can see it's actually in reading view. So if I try to type now, I can't actually type. And you'll find this is a little bit of an annoyance when you first start with Obsidian. You'll think you're in editing view because you'll see the little pencil icon, but you're actually in reading view. So if we click the pencil again, you can see it's gone back to source view. So you might get confused thinking, well, I want to go back to editing view where I can see a live preview. And the way to do that is you hit this one, but then you hit the dots and you untick source mode, and then it takes you back to the live preview. And then that's a little bit of a nicer way to write and edit your notes. We can see here we've got our metadata or properties, also known as YAML, at the top. And we'll go through this in a later video. We've got a template for our daily note journal entry. So we're going to go back to the daily journal, and I'm going to use that insert template button again. So I can use the Control P insert template. It's going to allow me to select my daily note template, which I just put in the templates folder here. Or I can use insert template and then select the template. And it's going to drop that template into my daily journal. We could go one step further and go over to here, and we could go into our daily notes and we could update the template file location with that daily note template, so we don't have to insert the template every time. And now if I close this and delete it and come back to open today's daily note, it's going to put today's date and insert that template for me. So now I can go ahead and enter my daily note. You can always toggle your properties or your metadata out the way if you don't want that. You don't need to use it either, but it is handy to have when you start building relational databases. So we'll close that one for now. The next one is Open Command Palette, and that's that Control P again. So that's just another way to get to it. Then we have Open Random Note. If we click that one, it's going to open that daily note. Now we only have this one and our new note. We've got this little Manage Workspaces layout. We'll cover that in a later video. So that's our ribbon menu. We have our current vault selected down here. If we wanted to open another vault, we can click Manage Vaults here. And then this brings us back to the initial screen. You can see the vault that we're in here at the moment. We've got a few options here to rename the vault, move the vault, remove it from the list, or reveal where it is in our System Explorer. So this is good if you've forgotten where you've put in your vault. If we want to open another vault, such as a community vault or another completed vault, we can come into there, grab a community vault. So we could open Nick Milo's Linking Your Thinking vault, and it will say, do you want to trust the author and enable plugins? We can say yes. And then now we have 2 vaults open. If I close that vault and click down here again and go manage vaults, it now remembers that I've opened that vault previously. If I don't want it in my list anymore, I can remove it from my list. We touched on the help earlier. You can click on the question mark and get to the Obsidian documentation through this button here. There's also a sandbox vault that you can practice in. Got a link to their Discord chat and an official forum. I do tend to use the official help site quite often, and it's just help.obsidian.md/home. If you don't like white screens, like I don't like white screens, you can toggle on dark mode, and this is going to cover everything you need to know about learning Obsidian. We'll just minimize that. We're covered off on files and folders, and they live here. If we want to search for a path file tag line section in our vault, we can do so here. We'll cover off in this later in the video. We can set up bookmarks within our bookmarks. We can also collapse the left side pane if we don't want to see our folder structure and we want more space to work with. We can do the same for the right hand side. We can reveal or hide the right hand sidebar. You can see here we have any backlinks mentioned in our note. So if we were to link to our daily journal and we go into our daily journal, you can see that there's a link mention of that in the new note here. And if we click back there, it goes back to that new note. If we had any tags in here, and a tag is just hash and the name of your tag. So this might be my fleeting note. Now we have a tag fleeting note. Now when you do my with a / and then the name of the tag, it organizes it under like a child item of the parent tag, which is my. We'll go through tags in a later video. 3 dots here reveals the file menu. We have a few different options in here, from changing to reading view. We can split right, we can split down, and this is kind of good when you want to organize information in a split windowed view. So you might be taking notes on a few different notes. You can rename any file, move a file, bookmark a file. You could add a file property, export it to PDF, do a find replace, copy the URL, start a presentation, or you could even show it in the System Explorer, which is quite a handy one to find where notes are located when your vault gets quite large. Down the bottom you have a status bar. We click into this note here. It has no backlinks, 3 words and 31 characters. We can close these tabs by hitting the cross, and we can add a new tab as shown. You can see that Obsidian prompts us here, Control O to go to a file or see recent files. We could even click create a new note to create a new note. Every time we create a new note, if we don't write anything in it, it'll just call it untitled. And if we click it again, it'll just go creating untitled with a number. So we'll get rid of those by right clicking, deleting. And that's the basics of the Obsidian interface menu. This concludes part 1, getting started with Obsidian. Coming up in the next video is part 2, mastering the basics of Obsidian.